Hi. So, graffiti. There's people who like it, people who don't like it. There's people who see potential, people who see vandalism. And I'm not going to get into too depth of that. I'm mainly going to be only touching down on the history of spray painting, graffiti, the types and techniques of graffiti, and also the reasons why someone might do graffiti. Starting on history, Romans, Egyptians were the main group that would do graffiti. Now, during the time, it wasn't graffiti. They would just etch onto the wall. Someone who's doing a campaign, they would etch onto the wall to something to support their campaign. Someone might see that, dislike it, write something to disapprove or disagree with their campaign, or they might just write on the wall their favorite gladiator's name, just to show support. They'll do that kind of stuff. So that was like earliest to show like what graffiti was really like. Secondly, during World War II is whenever people started using spray cans and they started actually writing things with the spray cans. They would write down quips, jokes. They would trash talk, write trash talk on their guns, their weapons, their tanks. They would also write down names of fallen soldiers, their buddies. They would write their name on their helmets, on the side of buildings where they passed, on tanks. They would write it just as a remembrance. They would also, there was also a quip or a line that was said around that time as like a pop culture reference around that time. It was called Kilroy was here. And they wrote that on tanks, like I said, tanks, barriers, sandbags. They just spray painted that kind of stuff on. Next was, this is where it kind of started actually getting into the modern spray paint, was in Philadelphia. There was this guy named Cornbread. That was his nickname. He got that in prison. He was a gang member, went to prison for being a gang member, and in prison he got the name Cornbread. From there it kind of clicked with him. That's where he started writing his name all over the prison. He started writing Cornbread everywhere. Then when he got out of prison, he did that in the cities of in the streets of Philadelphia. He did that in the streets. He did that in the zoo of Philadelphia. He also wrote his name Cornbread was here on an elephant. And that kind of influenced everyone around him to write their name and do that kind of stuff as well in Philadelphia. And with that being said, that also sent a shockwave of ideas and influence around surrounding cities, New York being the main one. And with New York into play, that's where techniques, styles kind of amplified there from graffiti, because you had a bunch of other people with a bunch of other good ideas, artistic people. Now, with the styles and techniques comes mediums. So you have regular spray paint, which came with tagging, regular spray paint, which came with tagging. There was also throw-ups and also stencils. Stencils, Banksy being one of the main guys who did stencils to get a message across really fast. Another one would be markers. That came with, again, more tagging. It came with stickers, and it also came with characters, cartoon characters. Stickers being, this is one of the examples. I did that on break during work this week. Another one being rollers. Think whenever you're painting a wall in your house, they kind of just did that, but that was just kind of get something bigger. They were called blockbusters. Now, there was also street art. So street art is somewhat different from graffiti, even though they're pretty much the same thing. Spray paint on a brick wall, spray paint on a wall, but it's with different intentions or different visions. For example, I did this one in middle school when I first started spray painting, and this is where I was like, oh, I want to start spray painting, but I don't want to do vandalism. I just want to do it on paper. That feeling kind of lost after a couple years. So those were the techniques for spray painting, was street art, tagging, stickers with markers, and there's also tagging with stencils, throw-ups with spray paint. This is kind of stuff you'll see in the streets, on a train. You'll see this kind of stuff really like a lot, actually. Markers you'll kind of see in the back of signs, on tables, benches, trees. You'll see a sticker just slapped on something super fast, super simple. Street art, something you'll see that comes with approval. On buildings, they typically have either a message about race or political views, or it'll just be something silly or something for business promotion, character for a business, that kind of stuff. Now, that being said, depending on the person doing the graffiti, this is the result of the reason why someone would do graffiti. Now, you have a person, an individual living in the world, things get in the way. Political nonsense, political powers, financial issues, healthcare issues, all that other kind of stuff. Not equal pay, equal pay, but more of also like gender issues kind of influence an individual. So from there, they would kind of go sought out and write their kind of perception on their life right now. For example, during, I think it was during Beryl in Houston, I was driving down the freeway, and this is after the power went out. We had been without power for a good while. I saw the person who spray painted the infamous "Center Pointless" on the side of a building, on the side of under the freeway, on the freeway. I saw that. At first, I didn't know what they were writing. I was like, okay, cool. Someone's spray painting. You go ahead. Then came out "Center Pointless." That was a political view they were sharing, right? That's just pretty much it. You know, mental health kind of influences a person on graffiti and the reason why they might do it. So now that you're informed, that's pretty much it. That's the history, the types, and the reasons why someone might do graffiti. Thank you.